So good morning and welcome to the opening session, the very first session of this Congress. And I apologize for this delay because due to some technical problems, but now we are okay. So I think that we have a small a gift from Maestro Pappano just to open this opening session. We don't have it?
Good morning, my name is Antonio Pappano and I'm the music director of the orchestra and chorus of l'Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia of Rome, and welcome to Rome for the 65th Annual Congress of the International Association of Music Libraries, Archives and Documentation Centers. Phew. There are over 350 of you, and welcome to this Parco della Musica, our home. And I can tell you as a working musician that the importance of the library, the archive, and now the documentation, the recording, the maintaining of the history of institutions is so important in my life personally. And I just want to say not only welcome and thank you that you have decided to meet here in a performing institution, but thank you for everything that you do to make our institutions work, run, and yeah, without the music, there's nothing, right? And we conductors can be very demanding, but we want something clear, and the musicians need something clear to read, and we want to know that what we're doing now is going to be recorded somehow in history, that there's a place for us in history. These are very, very important things that you do, and trust that you have someone in me who knows what it is and finds it very, very important. Thank you, and again, welcome to our home.
So a few announcements from the Congress organizers. First, the password of the net. You should know, but it's written everywhere, is A, capital letter, and S, N, C. Giusto?
Cosa stai dando?
La password.
La password per il wifi?
Sì.
A capital letter, N, S, C, 2016, isn't it?
Yes,
And
NSC, sorry. 2016 and then...
and then?
Exclamation mark.
Okay.
It's written everywhere, so, and you can ask at the info point. At the info point also you can ask if you would like to make any changes in the tour of the Wednesday tour. They have the list, they keep the list to be updated, so please go to them. But we have fixed number of tickets already bought, so please do just changes, not agreed with somebody else the change, please, because we can't change the number of participants of mostly of the tour. Then it should be known to everybody that presenters should give their presentation 20 minutes before the session start. You know, this is the guideline of Iaml, but we remember because in this institution we don't have the chance to work on our proper PC. So please be punctual because there are technicians in each room ready to help you. But there is need of time, so please be punctual, not later than 20 minutes before your session. And it was for announcement. And I think it's all, and if there is something added, I will tell you later. Thank you.
And Stanislav Rabia, now Vice President of the Iaml.
Good morning. As a Iaml Program Officer and Vice President of Iaml, I would like to begin this session with the greetings to all attendees here in Parco della Musica and to all virtual attendees who are with us via internet. So I can announce that there is the first streaming session in Iaml history. And I encourage you all here, and maybe those who are watching us, to be with us on Twitter. The hashtag is Iaml2016. And I would like also to thank all speakers, session chairs, and presenters for your great contribution to make this Congress program so rich, interesting, and diverse. And I wish you a successful week and enjoy the session. And now I hand over to Annalisa Bini from Accademia Santa Cecilia to chair this first session and introduce our invited speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanislav. Okay, so together with the organizing committee, we thought to choose the theme Music in Rome, performing, broadcasting, archiving. So we are trying to give you a glance on the musical life, actual musical life in Rome. Of course, there are some other institutions, but we are four and representatives of performing, broadcasting, and archiving. And I will give you a short idea of our institution and our musical cultural heritage, saying that, as you probably know, the Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia is one of the oldest musical institutions in the world. Officially founded in 1585, it has evolved over the centuries from an organization of largely local musicians to a modern academy and symphonic concert organization and the international repute. Uniting an academic body of 100 of most illustrious exponents of culture and music with a symphonic orchestra and choir that are among the most international renowned, the Accademia carries out professional musical training and conserves an extremely rich historical patrimony, thus reflecting its own multi-century history. The congregation was already well on its way in the middle of the 1570s, spurred by a group of musicians who consisted of the most important composers active in Rome at the time, including such notables as Giovanni Pierluigi da Palestrina, Luca Marenzio, and members of the Anerio and the Nannino families. Launched as a trade association with both artistic and charitable aims, the congregation soon found itself opposed by the Sistine Cantors, the other important and older musical organization of Papa Rome, and the discord continued until the end of the pontifical reign. But now is over, as I am pleased to have here the music director of the Sixtine Chapel, Monsignor Massimo Parombella. And during the centuries, now I can't, of course, resume all the history of the Accademia, but the results is that now the Accademia is a performing institution mainly. Our main core business are concerts, symphonic and chamber, and this is to be distinguished from the Teatro dell'Opera, for example. We don't have lyrical production usually, and not stage production anyway. And we are also a didactic institution. We have educational programs for every age, as you have seen, the youth orchestra and so on, but also at high level. And we are also research institutions. So, Okay. So our collections, which are very rich, we can resume the characters of our collection as a MAB. It means Museum, Archives, Biblioteca, or Library. And they are a good example of MAB. MAB is an abbreviation that indicates a recent born organism in Italy, but I think that similar organisms are growing up also abroad, which is growing up successfully. And the principal aims of MAB are share the same experience through different institutions, preserving musical or other type of a cultural heritage, share the same content management system, authority file, MAG, standard description criteria for different time of cultural heritage, and finally to have more connection among cultural operators, cultural institutions, and so on. And we are working at national level and also at regional level for these maps. And I think it's an interesting work that has been done recently. No? Okay. Here you find a short description of our music heritage. And the library, as that you have already visited, but that you can have guided tour if you want, is a space for the study and consultation of books, score, sheets music, manuscripts, periodicals, and so on. And it has been inaugurated in 2005. The multimedia library is equipped with multimedia workstation, and you have also access to the Techerai archive through our multimedia library. We have then the museum. The museum has been opened in 2008 and had one of the more important collection in Rome. There is another big museum that we are going to visit on Wednesday, some of you, but we have about 300 instruments, and here you have a panorama, a view of the collections, and we have together a painting, sculpture, and prints and drawings collection with about 130 items. The role of the museum is summarized in this slide, and there is a connection between the museum and the activity of the orchestra or the other activities of the Accademia. Because sometimes, for example, our colleagues from the orchestra ask to play one instrument of the museum for special occasion. For example, a horn, an 18th century horn, has been played by Alessio Allegrini in a concert conducted by Alexander Kavakos for artistic needs. He preferred to have an 18th century instruments, and we provided it, or for other occasion. And also there is a collaboration through the lute maker of the museum and the orchestra. Here you find the second element of the MAB, the archive, historical archive. Is particularly rich. We have documents, paper documents, beginning from 1651, because the first part of the archive is still in the Vatican archive or in the Barnabite archive, because the congregation was in contact with the Barnabites at the very beginning of its history. And we have also posters. Here you see a poster of the 1842 first performance in Rome of the Stabat Mater by Rossini. We have press reviews, photos, and everything you But we have also a big an important audiovisual archive. A part is connected with the concerts, is constantly increasing, and is the more interesting also for the production of live recordings and so on. As you know, the London Symphony Orchestra, the New York Symphony, and other Berliner Philharmoniker have all their live series of records, and we are trying to do the same. And we have also the aim to have a digital concert hall if we can success with this. And then we have another kind of audiovisual archive, which is ethnomusicological archive, because starting with 1948, a collaboration with the broadcast RAI gave birth to the Centro Nazionale Studi di Musica Popolare. It was a national center for folk music studies. And so we have an important collection of not only Italian, but also world example of folk music in our collection. Then there is a photos archive, which is composed from ancient collection, but also current collection with born digital testimonies of our concert season, events, and so on. And I summarize the archive's role, which is preserving, of course, but which is important also because basing on the archive, we do the chronological database of our concerts, which is online, and with digital contents. And the artistic direction, program notes, and so on, use our information. Finally, the library, which is open in 1877, and it's particularly rich of manuscripts and collections. Our role is strictly connected with the music archive, because sometimes the music archives ask us for some editions or printed music. And we have also a lot of recordings in ancient and recent recordings. That's a short, because we must be very short, we were late, a short description of our collections, some topics to discuss. I just have a list of these topics, and I think that we will have occasion during this Congress to discuss some of them, some of these topics. What is the role of the library, archive, museum in a performing institution, which is always a problem for us. Which are the main goals? Can MAB model be helpful to manage with the cultural heritage and new perspectives for future? How to manage with standards for cataloging rules, metadata, linked open data? I say this because we always quarrel with people, with our colleagues that do program notes, how to write Prokofiev, Tchaikovsky, and so on. Authority file are not very loved from our colleagues, but are very important for us to find things in the database. So we have to find how to solve problems connected with copyright, performance rights, and so on in internet time. And finally, what will survive of a traditional library and of a traditional librarian role in the web era. I think that the first and the last topics are the most important, and I hope to have occasion to discuss this with you. These are some our first results. I mean, we increased very much the visitors from the beginning of from the opening of the library till now. We collaborated with European projects, and I think that our role is also to collaborate for European projects. we published this CD box to celebrate the 100 years anniversary of the orchestra, for example. And I think I would have pleased to just to listen to some seconds of this. Is the very, very first record of our orchestra. Is the 1937 recording from a tournée in Germany and Austria and Switzerland. And you see the photos here. Just a few seconds. You can. Some years ago, it was not possible to hear to this, and a lot of other things that we discovered in ordering and studying our archives in this new auditorium. So thank you for your attention, and we will go on with the program. Thank you. And now is Maria Pia Mirati, director of the Raiteca in Roma. From 2014, she was appointed director of Raiteca Structure, deputy to the Historical Archive Management Broadcasting of RAI. And she will speak about.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bini. I'm very glad to be here to present Raiteca, the most important archive in Europe, and the audiovisual archive in Italian public broadcasting television. Some numbers. At present, our television archives contain more than 70 million searchable items, representing 1.5 million hours of digital video. Similarly, the radio archive currently contains more than 30 million items, representing 1.5 hours of digital audio. The search function is utilized by over 11,000 registered users, and each month over 2 million queries are made. These figures are continuously updated. The patrimony represented by our archive is expanded every day with the publication the new items. The value of archive, music archive. Over 1,002 performances of our former 4 symphony orchestra have been digitized and documented. 99,000 musical scores and performance material have been classified. With regard of a FAIR project, about 102,000 documents comprising photographic images and musical score have been classified, and 208 signed manuscript property of the National Symphony Orchestra have been digitized. Moreover, the concert programs documents of 4 symphony orchestra of Turin, Rome, Naples, and Milan from 1933 until the establishment of the National Symphony Orchestra in 1994 have been classified and digitized. To understand the strategy and objective to the project to catalog and study of musical documents, that are conserved in the archive of Turin, we have a presentation by Professor Andrea Malvano tomorrow morning. In the case of the radio broadcast, the musical archive of RAI are comprised of materials that date from the second half of 1920. The television materials begin from the second half of 1914. For both, we have conserved, cataloged, documented, and made accessible a substantial amount of material that serve as a living testament of the activity of many great performers, composers, and prestigious institutions, both symphonic and lyric. For some performers, we maintain documents, audio and visual, that begin from their debut up until their full maturity, artistic maturity. This represents the span of their respective careers and therefore provide an additional aspect of interest highlighting the uniqueness of our musical archives. For example, we can enjoy the pleasure of seeing the young but already famous Claudio Abbado conducting the Rome Symphony Orchestra with an equally young yet renowned Marta Argerich, we see now, in the concert in G of piano and orchestra by Ravel, recorded in February 8 in 1979. In this photo we see now, taken at the end of the performance, we can see online in our photo archive and online on a new website, right? This is a new slide, and we see our programming. Our programming covers the broadcast of concert, musical performance, and operas selected from among the most important representative Italian international works, as well as those produced by RAI itself and broadcast over its own network, most particularly the stations that are dedicated to music. Remember Radio 3 and Rai 5. Within just a few days of their broadcast, these performances and programs are documented and published on our multimedia catalog according to international agreed metadata standards, thereby making the performance easily searchable. And here we can see the information relating the previously mentioned concert by Argerich and Abbado. In addition to the technical data for identifying the product, there is the name of the television program, the title of a movement, concert in G for piano and orchestra, the channel and data or broadcast, the start and we can read, time start, time stop, as well as the overall length. In addition, information about the inclusion of applause, the place where the piece was recorded, Roma, Lazio, Italia, Auditorium, as well as any relevant event or concert season information, and any information on a various movements are noted. The video will provide a short description of what the viewers see were relevant. We continue the slide is CMM, Catalog Multimedia, and in the folder one can find a reference to the person who wrote and who formed the piece. Can we see nominativo, name, or role, for example. And then we have, let's move on the navigation, through the information with the help of the slide, where we can see each of the elements of a documentation for a television program, and its content subdivided into sequence. So the example. Here we find extract of images, but before we see the video, we have the possibility to visualize individual frames thanks to options provided, Specifically, it's possible to select segments that can see as long as 5 minutes or limited to individual clips, which can see 1 minute, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. And last, here we can see a practical example of what our archive offers. This is a brief extract of a concert by the Turin Symphony Orchestra under the direction of Laurie Mazel from May 14, 1971. We not only possess the digitized concert program and the digitized video performance broadcast on television, we also have the stereophonic radio broadcast at speed 15. What we're experiencing here is a result of combining together the respective digitized video with the stereophonic recordings superimposed upon it. This represents a true recovery operation of video and audio elements that allow for a systematic way for us to recreate in the best possible way such performance. In doing so, we can allow users to enjoy, after more 15.5, a performance in its most immediate and the best possible live format. Now we can see, and let's see a video, the first movement of Manfred by Tchaikovsky. Thank you. It's too late now. we can have others notice. Can you find in our new website? I think. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for to Maria Pia Mirati. I realize that we are really late, but I hope that we can take some more minutes and gain some minutes on the coffee break if it's possible. I don't know. I can't see any. Well, will we try to be
On time.
on time, despite of having begun late. Now, Massimo Palombella, Cappella Musicale Pontificia Sistina, music director of the Cappella Musicale. He is a presbyter and choir director, and is maestro direttore of the Sistine Chapel Choir from October 2010. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning to all. First, I apologize for my poor English, but I try to make myself understand. The Cappella Musicale Pontificia Sistina is the personal choir of the Pope. It traces its origin to the first centuries of the Church. It was organized in the 6th century under Gregor the Great and underwent major change under Pope Boniface VIII. It was further organized by Pope Sixtus IV in 1471 and obtained the name Sistine, both in homage to the Pope who revived it and because it usually sung in the chapel of the same name. During the Renaissance, singers of the Sistine Chapel choir included Giovanni Pierluigi da Palestrina, Luca Maenzio, Cristobal de Morales, Costanzo Festa, Jasquin de Pré, and Jacopo Cadet. In the 18th century, its directors included Giuseppe Baini and Domenico Mustafa. Lorenzo Peosi became choirmaster in 1898 and Domenico Bartolucci in 1956. From 1997 to 2010, the choir was directed by Monsignor Giuseppe Liberto. On October 2010, I was appointed as its director by Pope Benedict XVI. The choir consists of 20 permanent adult singers with the addition of some extra as required and about 35 boys, the pueri cantores, who are trained by Monsignor Marcos Pavan. In addition to its main commitment in the papal liturgies, the Sistine Chapel Choir also gives concerts around the world. By this concert, featuring its musical and liturgical heritage, the choir expressed the evangelical mission of the Church. Under my direction, the Sistine Chapel has begun an exclusive recording contract with the Deutsche Grammophon. This allows us to make available to a wider public some of the music present in the vast Sistine Chapel archive of the Vatican Library. This archive is a collection of all the music ever written for the papal celebration, and as such is one of the largest collections of Renaissance music in the world. The search for unpublished music sources, transcribe them and record them, allow us to operate in complete form the transition from graphic scene, with all the semiotic implications, to sound scene. The recording of the sound scene allows the transmission of the same and also the life and the actuality of the ancient graphic scene. It is here that I tracked down the original manuscript of the famous Miserere by Gregorio Allegri, Sistine Code of 1611, and subsequently transcribed and recorded it with Deutsche Grammophon last year. This version of the Miserere differs significantly from the other recordings, as it is based on the actual notes written by Allegri, before the palimpsest of improvisation and ornamentation, which was subsequently layered upon it by the castrati of 17th and 18th centuries. We listen then to a fragment of the Miserere by Allegri in its original version recorded by Sistine Chapel Choir in the Sistine Chapel. At the end of September, we will release our new recording of the Missa Pape Marcelli by Palestrina. This critical edition has been prepared from the first printed edition of 1567 and compared synoptically with the two other manuscripts of the Mass, the Liberian Code 18 and the Sistine Code 22. This critical edition also contains the color minor or minor colors, namely Renaissance rhetorical figures with which the singers of the Sistine Chapel improvise short embellishment. We conclude by listening to the Kyrie of the Missa Pape Marcella sung by the Cappella Musicale Pontificia in the Sistine Chapel. Thank you.
Thank you to Monsignor Palombella. And now Massimo Pistacchi was scheduled as a director of the Central Institute for Audiovisual and Audio Heritage, but he apologized for not coming, and his paper is going to be read by Federico Mastrolilli, that I thank for this.
Hello, everyone. To speak after a performance in the Sistine Chapel is quite hard. And even harder is to represent Massimo Pistacchi, who is the brilliant director of the Institute, and he brings his greetings to everyone. So I'm just giving you a very quick overview of the Institute and its current activities. And I please myself to focus a little bit more on the project I'm collaborating with the Institute, which is about opening the digitized collections to the public, because I have a copyright background. I come from a PhD in copyright, and so I'm collaborating as a postdoc research with the Institute, dealing with these issues. I will be talking about them at the end of this very small presentation. Okay, the Institute has a very long story, even though you read it was just established in 2007, but it was born on the ashes of the old Discoteca di Stato. And so now the Institute is continuing their work, and it acquired the skills, the personal, financial, and material resources, the equipment, and the technical material, the documentary, the instruments, and all the archive. We are part of the Ministry of Culture, and as the Italian National Public Audio and Audiovisual Archive, of course, we have a very big collection of documents consisting of different media, from wax cylinders to wires, disc, tapes, compact disc, videotapes, DVD, and Blu-ray. I missed one. Okay. You can imagine, of course, which is our task, which is documenting, valorizing, and preserving the national audiovisual and audio heritage of our country. A big help is the legal deposit that was implemented in 2004. That means that actually almost everything that is published and released in Italy, there is a copy that we own. Of course, differently from the Rai-Tech, we only have the property of the support. We only have the property of the media. We don't own, unfortunately, the rights on this, on the content of this media. So this is a big problem from what we will say later about giving access to our collection. Of course, there is also another task which is more technical and which I know, of course, less. It's about formulating standards and guidelines for conservation and management of sound and visual heritage. And of course, we collaborate with other national and international institutions, and we constantly exchange the best practices. For me, this is the most interesting trend of our institution, digitization. And it's a strong topic. I remember that also at the last Europeana Sounds project, which was held in Paris in October last year, this was the main issue. Of course, as I said, we are, as any other public audio heritage institution, we preserve an impressive number of recordings that share a high historical and cultural value. So we have the phonographic culture of our country in our archive. But unfortunately, this heritage is often unappreciated by the public because of the difficulty of access it. Because we are still in a phase of transition from analog to digital. have an idea now, to have a listen to the material of our archives, people should physically come to our premises, which is a beautiful building in the center of Rome, but it can be a little uncomfortable if you don't live nearby. So we still have booths, and you can ask for the recordings, but of course this is not practical, and it's a problem when to spread all this heritage we have. So the big aim and the big concern at the same time was and is to undertake a massive digitation of our collection in order to make it easier, for the audience to access. Because now our public is a small number of researchers and specialists. And of course, digitization is not only an outward activity, but also an inward activity, because it means to better the preservation of the material we have. Because as I will say, digitization is also a way of documenting and preserving the material. Notably, is to guarantee the future use of the information, regardless of the media's physical fragility and the constraints imposed by the programs and equipments that were used at the time when the phonograms were made. Of course, we all know the problem about technological obsolescence, and the digitization is a way to give more or less, hopefully, immortality to our contents that otherwise will be lost. For the obsolescence of the medium itself, because of course it's all old material, or because we don't have the machines to read such materials. The program of digitization started in 2005, and of course the aim is to digitize the entire audiovisual heritage of the Institute, and I would say the Institute is at a very good point right now. It's an high-quality project pursuant to the European standard broadcast WAV file standard produced by the European Broadcasting Union. And digitization, of course, without introducing any variation of the original content, because all the interventions also about restoring or equalization also apply. Always apply on the copies in low and medium quality, never on the master copy. And of course, we also produce a lot of technical metadata during these transcription sessions. This is what we have at the end of the process. So the master file, the copies, both for end users and for internet consultation, housekeeping data, and also the images. We have an agreement with some collecting societies here to fill our holes in the images also of the recordings, because this is also very important to have a complete digitization. This is the images and the kind of media we are working on. And now there is a new online public access catalog of the Institute, and this is the website, which is Polo DDS, and we will talk about it later. So, of course, the catalog is all online. The problem is that we can hear the recordings online, apart from some samples, but I know there will be more specific sessions about it from the colleagues by the Internet Culturale project. This is something also I have to say, that we are working as a trend, as an evolution on open source softwares, because this is an indication from our public administration. So as we are public administration, we have to work on open source softwares. But then it's better because it helps us saving licensing costs and to share technical solution with a larger community of developers and users. For us, it's both a financial but also let's say an ethical choice. This is the achievements of our digitization process right now. So as you see, we are reaching now almost a half of the units we have, and it's all made in-house. So of course there is some we need some time to do it. So we're not doing, for example, with an external partners. You all know the problems that were risen with the book project by Google. External partners could be very useful in copyright, but they also give us many problems. So we decided to do this in-house, also because we have the resources to do that. But of course, it's a long process. This is what our digital library contains right now. So as I told you, it's data, it's audio, it's images. So this is just numbers, but it gives you the idea of the amount of the units we have. Just a quick note about the new catalog, because this year there was a new poll set up for where our catalog is hosted, and it's part of the National Library Service, the DSPN. So all of our catalog is migrated in the new poll. So now everything is integrated. So there's not a catalog of an atomic catalog of our institute, but we are all part of the National Library catalog. So this is the new poll, the DDS poll I was talking you before. This is important because, of course, we are not the only audio archive or heritage in Italy. There are many others, public and private institutes. So at least now it's possible to research all of them on a single catalog. The last, I'm sorry, this is very small, so I will read it. This is the last thing I want to say. I was telling you before, digitization is only the first step. The real challenge for us is to make the digitized collection available to the public, at least on a streaming basis. So that means to reach an audience that is interested in sound but is not familiar with archives. So we opened a private consultation with our equivalent institutes all around the world, which was very helpful last year to exchange best practices, because we found out that many public institutes, audio heritage public institutes, don't share their collection on the web, because we all have the same big problem, which is, of course, copyright. So we found some very good examples at the British Sound, so the British Museum sound part. We also liked a small French project called the Sonothèque of Normandy, which is a very interesting project, and also the National Film and Sound Archive of Australia. They gave us really good hints. And now, after this 1.5 years of researches, we are working this way. The first thing we did was to identify inside our collection the sound recordings that are copyright cleared, so copyright free. And this is a big part, because it's recordings whose copyright is expired. So it's because, copyright is 70 years after the death of the author, so we have some historical documents which is available. Then it's copyright, it's recordings whose copyright we own, or we have permission to use. For example, we received some donations during the years from right holders, or recordings that are not works pursuant to copyright law. And this is also a wide range of material that includes pre-war recordings, classical music, traditional songs, ethnographical documentation, oral history, or field recordings, live performances, historical speeches, and so on. This is the first step of our work. We can work on this material, we can put it online. Then we also obtained a license, quite a cheap license from our Italian Authors Collecting Society, so we can also use copyright protected material. But the important thing is that it must be before 50 years ago, because we don't have the right from the phonographic industry. So everything which is from 75 going backward, it's something that we can use, because we have this license. And finally, the last idea we had, because this is what Europeana Sounds does, what the British Sounds does, was to strike also a small license with SoundCloud, which is maybe you know it. It's an online streaming platform, and of course they will just give us the space to host our recordings. So we will be soon launching this Institute online channel on SoundCloud, which will give access everywhere in the world to small parts of our digital collection. Of course, we will not put everything there at the same time, but there will be some playlist, will be some sort of curation, curated playlist. We will put the recordings of conferences and rarities from our archive. So this is just a first step, but to start opening the Institute collection to the public all around the world. I really thank you for the attention, and I hope I substituted Massimo Pistacchi the best I can. If we have time, we can just have a sample of our old catalog. Just one. We can ask to launch the first I prepare, which is part of our Neapolitan collection, Neapolitan music collection, of course, because we are very proud of it, because we own the rights on this collection. So this will be some of the first collection that will be available online. So this is just a preview. The voice was by Enrico Caruso, and this was a 78 record from 1913. So we are copyright free here, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thank you also to Federico Mastrolilli, and I think we don't have time to open a discussion because time is really out, and so I thank you all. Maybe Federica Riva has something to say. Please come here.
Just to say, we had some talk up with friends here and colleagues about this map you proposed at first. This is a coordination between museum archives and libraries. So the association is already libraries, archives, and documentation centers, but we don't have a strict relation with museums. And we probably, you know, that part of people interested in music are now in Milano for the ICOM Congress. So the idea is that probably to share with all those colleagues who works in institutions like you, where you have so many materials, just to have talks during the Congress and see if it's possible to arrive to some kind of agreements with these associations.
Okay.
Friend association.
Okay, so it's time to stop now. Thank you to all.
And two more brief. So two short announcements, which are very important. First, you see on the program there is no concert this evening at 9:30. Please don't go to the concert at 9:30, because there is another very interesting opportunities that already have been said, but it's important to repeat. At 6, here in the same hall, there will be the Cultural Heritage Rescue Prize. And we are invited from the president of the Accademia to listen to the concert that you heard a little piece yesterday of the Uni Orchestra and to the prize. This prize is given to people who defend with their life culture in these places, and we know how much war is around us and how much our work and music in this moment is important for fighting these difficult moments of the world. And then coffee break. We are accustomed to have coffee break nearby the halls, but this is a performing institution, is not empty, is not the time of free time of the institution. We are in the middle of the summer festival of the performing institution, Accademia Nazionale Santa Cecilia. So coffee breaks during the whole week will be at the cafeteria and at the Red Restaurant. You find every detail on the program and on the map. So you have your own vouchers, and please, this is the way we will do this year. Thank you.